Welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Advanced Steel 2022 has been out for a few months, so some of you may have already explored some of the enhancements to this release. There are quite a few of them, and I've selected 6 for today. In no particular order, here they are. In previous releases, whenever we modified the length of a beam, features such as holes, cuts, and so forth may have moved when we didn't want them to. Now we have control over that. Also, we now have the ability to choose which objects are included in camera views, no matter how big the camera box is. Before, if the camera touched an object, it was drawn in the detail view. Until now, when features were deleted, there was no revision cloud for those features on a drawing. Now that is an option. Next enhancement, detail explode. Now, we're already able to explode drawings for the native AutoCAD user. While this feature as a whole is not new, there are more items that can be controlled in a detail explode than before. The Start tab has been redesigned. It is now more in line with some of the other Autodesk products. We'll spend a few minutes looking at that. And this last feature is available in all AutoCAD-based products. I want to point it out today because Advanced Steel is cloud ready, and any tool that will help with that transition is worth mentioning. Okay, on to the first enhancement. Hole position during a beam stretch. As you may already know, when there are features on a beam like hole patterns, cuts, notches, and so forth, and you stretch or lengthen that beam, there's a chance that the feature will move when you don't want it to. Now we have control over that behavior. In order to do that, we need to go to Management Tools. This, like many other settings, is found in the defaults. And to get to this setting quickly, use the filter and type the keywords keep holes. The setting itself is named keep holes position constant relative to attached parts during beam stretch. And that's a mouthful. And there are a ton of settings here, and it's very easy to get lost. So I do recommend leaning on that filter as much as possible. And don't forget, if you've ever been in the defaults before, you want to click the Load Settings in Advance button, and then click the Update Defaults button on the Settings panel in the ribbon. If you don't do this, the changes that you just made will not take effect in your model. All right, let's have a look at it. So I've got a beam that is ready to be stretched, and the hole pattern's already there. So let's look at the previous behavior first. And I'm just going to make this a little longer. And as you can see, those holes are moving when the stretch or the lengthen or the shorten takes place. So if I want those holes to remain in their current position, then we need to go change that setting in Management Tools. So we'll go into Defaults, And then I'm going to use the filter and start typing keep holes. And eventually we'll get down to just that setting. It is under the beam category. And there it is. We'll enable that. And then load settings in advance. Now you don't have to click this after every change you make. If you're going to be in the defaults for a while, you can make all of your changes so long as you load the settings before you go back to work on your model. So we'll load those settings in advance and then update the defaults. Now, when I stretch this beam, those holes will remain in their previous position. And that is the first enhancement. Next enhancement is regarding object selection for cameras. Up until now, if an object or a feature was inside a camera, it was shown in the view on the drawing. We had to spend some time adjusting the camera box to exclude items or find some other way. On the drawing, we'd end up with more detail than we wanted, but now we can select the desired objects in the camera's properties and exclude the unwanted detail. All right, let's have a look at that one. I've got a camera view already set up, and I went ahead and produced the drawing to save a little time. And that's it right there. As you can see, the camera box itself is intersecting enough objects. I'm interested in what I have marked here, but you're going to see in the detail that those items are above and below are still part of that view. So if we go into the document manager and we look at this drawing right here, make sure I actually open that drawing. And it looks like, yeah, this is the end. So what I'm going to do here is we'll do it in reverse. So if I want to add some elements to this view or in some way change it, we'll do that from the camera's properties. Right here, select objects for camera. The default used to be this one, consider all objects. That was the only choice. Now we can select. So what I'll do is reset the selection there and select new objects, and then I'll proceed to select what I want, which will be a few of the items in here. And while I'm at it, I'll go ahead and select a few more down here to be a part of that, and maybe those bolts there. So for this update of the camera view, we'll exclude the railing elements that are above. Press enter to capture that. Now I've got 8 objects selected here, and I'll go ahead and mark the objects. We can do that from here as well. That is a good double check to make sure you got the selection that you want. And then we'll go update the drawing. Now I'm not going to worry about a revision on this one, so I'll just do a force update. And there you go. So before we didn't see any details down here. Now we do, but there's nothing up above. So lots of control over what is included in a camera view, no matter how big the box might be. All right, on to the next enhancement. Revision cloud for deleted features. up until now, when features were deleted, all you got on the drawing was the entry in the revision table. There was no indication in the views because of the lack of clouds or triangles. Now you can enable that option. The cloud will be placed around the entire part. In this example, one of the views was removed. That's because the drawing process figured out that that view was no longer needed. This setting is also in Management Tools. Again, I like to use the filter. This time the keyword is revision. The name of the setting is Draw Revision Cloud around the main part in Shop Drawings. Another mouthful. And once again, remember to load settings and update defaults for the changes to take effect. Okay, let's try that one. All right, so since we know revision clouds won't be part of a drawing when you delete features until we turn that setting on. And so what we'll do here on this beam, since we already have some holes here, let's go enable that setting, and then I'll remove this set of holes right here. So we'll go to Management Tools, again, Defaults, use Filter, and start typing Revision. This setting is under the Revision Control category. And there it is right there. Draw Revision Cloud around main part. Again, we need to load settings in Advance and update defaults. Okay, so now I can delete those holes, and then we'll go revise the drawing. So that's the one right there. We'll do an update revision. And there's the cloud. It also has a triangle. Now, I do want to point out in this particular drawing, because it is the one that I stretched, if you look right here, there's also a cloud around the length. That's included in this revision, even though I didn't add it to the description. So this drawing was already waiting for an update. And that's why that one is clouded as well. But as you can see, the cloud that is around the entire part, that's what will happen when features are deleted from a beam, and then you revise that drawing. All right, so that is the revision cloud enhancement. On to the next one. Detail explode. As I said before, we've been able to explode drawings. However, a few more choices for what to explode have been added. In this example, the callout symbols and the view title have been changed after the drawing was exploded. And we'll do this to get control of the layers, the colors, the line types, things that might be CAD standard related when you're delivering drawings beyond your desk. maybe they have a requirement that you need to adhere to. This one is done from the document manager. What we need to do is create a custom profile under the user branch of the Explode settings, and then we can get as particular as we need to. After you create your Explode settings, you have to right-click on that new folder and set it as the current profile. If you don't do this, the drawing will still explode, but without your new settings. Let's have a look at that one. So we'll go on into the document manager. And the drawing I'm going to work on does need an update here. So I'll go ahead and just force update that. And then I'm going to add that one to Explode. And once you add a drawing to the Explode, you'll see the Batch Explode branch. I'm going to right-click on that and then set up the Explode options. Under the User branch, we'll right-click and choose New. And we'll give it a name. I'll just call it Custom. And then on the new Custom branch, I'll right-click again and choose New, and this will allow me to start adding object types that I want to override during the Explode. The ones we're focused on today are under the Not Assigned branch. In this branch, or this object type, are some of the annotations and the symbols that are part of your drawings. So I'm going to do a couple of these. I'll start with the call-out symbol. And then I'll give it some overrides. I'll give it a new layer. And I could use one of the existing layers that come from Advance Steel, or I can create a layer on the fly. So we'll give this its own layer. While I'm at it, I'll override the color. I won't worry about the line type here. And then I'm going to click Apply because I want to stay here and do a couple more. Now that I've got a sub-branch here called Not Assigned, you can right-click there as well to start new settings, and it will pick up that object type for you. Just one less thing to select if you do that. Also notice under the subtypes, the call-out symbol isn't listed anymore. So as you add new types to your settings, they'll be removed from the list so you don't accidentally duplicate one. This time I'll do the call-out title, and I'll do the same thing as the first one. We'll add it to the same layer. Just make sure I spell it right. Override the color. Apply, and then we'll do one more. This time I'll do the label. That's actually the view title that sits underneath all of your views. We'll give it its own layer as well. Color, line type if you want. Now, the last step, once you're done with your settings, remember to right-click on your new folder and set it as your current profile. Your settings will be preserved, but if you don't set it current, then when it explodes, it'll just explode with all the out-of-box settings. So don't forget that step. If you happen to forget that, you can always come back and just explode the drawing again after you set it current, and it'll be fine. It'll just overwrite the previous explode. All right, so we'll proceed with the explode. We'll just click OK in the document manager. We'll overwrite the last one. Now, the exploded drawings will not be available in the document manager, so we'll just open it directly. You do want to check it. Those drawings that are exploded will be in the project folder that sits next door to your model in the details exploded folder. And there it is. And as you can see, the callout symbols have their layer and their color overrides. So the layer is callout symbol for the cyan objects that you see here, and the view title or the label is on another layer and it's blue. Okay, the next enhancement, the Start tab. It seems Autodesk does something with the Start tab almost every release, but they are starting to come together. So the Start tab in Advanced Steel, it has received a facelift, and it has aligned with other Autodesk products. Two of the items to note here are the What's New link down here, where you'll find all of the new enhancements in this release. Of course, you can find them on the internet, but they are available inside the product. The other item worth mentioning is access to Autodesk Docs right here. It is possible to upload an Advanced Steel project to the cloud and access it from inside the product, which means you can also use BIM Collaborate with Advanced Steel. There's nothing to demonstrate there. You'll see it plenty here in a moment. The final enhancement for today is push to Autodesk Docs. This is a great feature, and it's available in all AutoCAD-based products. Even if you don't want to put your entire project in the cloud, you can still send drawings to a project for the rest of the team. You just have to make sure that the folder has been created in Autodesk Docs so that you can select it when you push a drawing. And if you've never seen this palette before, type in push to docs open on the command line. All right, so let's do one of those. So this project, it is local or it's on a server, but I still want to share with extended team, right? I don't have that palette turned on here, so I will type that command, which is push, and eventually you type enough and the command line will bring you those commands. So there it is, push to docs open. And all we need to do is add sheets. And those sheets will be based on the layout tabs that come from your drawings. Your drawings can be anywhere. Since it is an AutoCAD feature, I'm just going to add a drawing from the details folder underneath this project. I'll add this one here. And you can add as many drawings or as many sheets as you want. Once you have those added, we'll select a folder. And that will grant you access to any docs projects that you have been invited to or that you set up yourself if you happen to be an admin for your Autodesk Docs. So we'll pick the project. And then there's the folder that I set up ahead of time just to send drawings to. That way, I'm not handing over the models or any data that I don't want to share. Once you have your folder selected, we'll click Upload Sheets. It'll take a few moments to upload those. And when it's finished, there will be a direct link right here in the palette that we can use to go straight to that folder in Autodesk Docs. So if I wanted to verify it's there, then I can do it straight from the palette. Here's the folder. There's my sheet. As you can see, it was plotted to a PDF first by Advance Steel, and then it was uploaded. So that's what's happening in the background on that palette. The plot command runs, or the publish command with one of your configurations, but it does default to a PDF, and then it uploads the PDF. So your data still remains secure. From here, the other team members can mark up the drawing, review it, approve it. You create transmittals and do some of the other things that are available on the Autodesk Docs platform. Okay, that is the last enhancement to share with you today. Next, I'd like to share some resources with you. The first one looks like it might be a bit out of date, but it's still a very good one, and that is the blog called BIM and Beam. If you're not familiar with this, I recommend checking it out. It is located at blogs.autodesk.com. Also, you'll find the rest of the what's new there if you prefer to go to the internet versus from inside Advanced Steel. But be careful. For some reason, the what's new for Advanced Steel is located under the Revit blog. Not sure why they did that, but that's what they did. To get to it, you'll need to go under the Revit section and then click on Revit blog. And then you can do a search on what's new in Advanced Steel 2022. You'll find it in there. Or you can access it from the link that is on the Start tab inside Advanced Steel. One brings up the help interface. The other one is on the web, depending on your preference. Here are the resources from here at Hagerman that you can take advantage of for self-help. On our YouTube page, you'll find the recordings for all our previous webcasts. This one will be available shortly. Plus, we have plenty of articles on our blog at hagerman.com and even more content on our customer hub. And of course, we encourage you to contact us for your support and service needs. I'd like to thank everyone for attending today. Hope you find this useful. Let's review the questions in the chat panel. Okay. I don't see any questions there. So again, thanks for attending.